Hey guys, welcome back. So for this one, we're jumping back into Night Terrors for both parts 1 and 2 of the main storyline, which now gives us the origin of this new villain, Insomnia, as well as a bit of history on the Nightmare Stone that he's been after this whole time. And with that said, let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week, and don't forget to hit that bell up top for all notifications so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so for this one, we start off with a monologue from Deadman, who, like we'd seen in our last couple of talks, he's using Batman's body, and we'll get back to that. But as he's briefly giving his monologue, talking about his last moments as a trapeze artist, he explains how he didn't do it for the cheers or the applause, but rather he did it for the gasps, the moments that would take the breath away of his audience. Whether it was him free falling and escaping the clutches of death at the last second, he would only get that gasp reaction if his audience believed that he was really gonna die. And to an extent, he also had to believe it too. But tragically, in his case, the best performance that he had ever given, it was when the assassin took the shot and he died in front of the live audience, because the crowd thought it was a part of the show, so they went wild. But as it stands now for Deadman, he believes that he's stuck doing the same performance over and over again, while at the same time he's just an audience of one, who's forced to watch others live their lives day in and day out. But on the bright side, in his current role, he gets to be a superhero, and the show must go on, which right here takes us back to where we left off, with Insomnia revealing his name while having Deadman in what looks to be a hopeless situation. But I gotta say, with how this is done, I like when Deadman lets a bit of the humor out, because it's almost like he kinda has to, or he's just gonna go crazy. But also to him, this moment is very similar to one of his performances, where it would seem like all hope is lost. It would seem like he's near death. So in a way, it's building up the anticipation for what Deadman's going to do. And initially, this starts with a bit of detective work on Deadman's part, because he tells Insomnia that initially he believed that Insomnia was a ghost like him. And Insomnia, he doesn't agree or disagree. He just reiterates that he's looking for the Nightmare Stone. But Deadman is determined to find out who and what Insomnia is, because without having that answer, there's no way of stopping this guy. But with Insomnia trying to keep the mysterious rap, he then tells Deadman that he is the god of nightmares, as he goes on to say that he can bring his fears and the fear of others into reality. But while they're at Arkham Tower, Insomnia sends the doctors of Arkham after Deadman, but Deadman quickly notices that Insomnia is talking to these doctors like he knows them. And to make things more suspicious, Deadman notices the same haunted feeling he felt at the Hall of Justice coming from a cell door just behind him. So to take his investigation to the next level, he jumps out of Batman's body and right into Insomnia, where he sees a sequence of moments surrounding the Nightmare Stone, which was created by a sacrifice and hidden by John D. And as it stands, Insomnia has been searching through multiple nightmares in the hopes of finding a clue of where the Nightmare Stone's been hidden. And then suddenly Deadman finds himself back at Arkham Tower, outside in one of Insomnia's memories, which currently is at the front of Insomnia's mind. Because at this point in time, after Lazarus Island had erupted, Lazarus Pit juice was just falling everywhere, and this cursed rain infused with magic made its way into Insomnia's cell, the same spooky cell that Deadman noticed in Arkham Tower. And this is where Insomnia's story begun, because when the Lazarus rain came in, it gave him the ability to spy on people's minds while they slept, which is a process that began with Insomnia initially just kinda hovering and observing, and eventually he set his focus on the heroes, who in the eyes of Insomnia, they are the monsters. And as it stands right now, Deadman's not sure exactly why. He's just trying to bounce around in here and get as much information as he can. But then next, he notices a happy memory shining with a bright light in Insomnia's mind. But as Deadman moves closer to see what this memory is, he's suddenly forced out by Insomnia, but not without Deadman discovering that Insomnia is oddly hiding his best memories instead of his worst. But with forcing Deadman out, Insomnia tells him how dare he invade the mind of a god. And Deadman tells him, man, you ain't no god, you're just some dude. As Deadman makes his way back into Batman's body. And much like we were shown in Batman's nightmare when Insomnia let Bruce see what was going on the outside, we see the same thing here, because now Deadman, he doesn't want to fight the doctors at Arkham, because he knows inside of these corrupted creatures there are actual people. So for Deadman's finale, if you will, he jets for the window, and Insomnia lets him know that Deadman can get out that window and be alright. But Batman, on the other hand, falling from this height, he would surely die. Which for Deadman, with him hearing this, it causes him to chuckle a little bit because like he mentioned before, he's putting on a show, and as it stands, his audience, Insomnia, he believes when Deadman jumps through that window, Batman's body is just gonna go splat. But as Deadman jumps out of the top of Arkham Tower, he lets us in on a bit of the behind the scenes information, if you will, because with him using Batman's body, who is by far the most physically fit person he's ever possessed, this allows Deadman to pull off those trapeze stunts and make his way to the ground safely. Because really, who needs a grapple or a gliding cape? But at this point, with Deadman getting Batman's body out of there, he hops into the Batmobile, which looks like a love child between a Dodge Viper and a Toyota Supra. But with racing out of there, he discovers that the chaos has reached much further than just Gotham, with nearly the whole world being put to sleep and tossed into their worst nightmares. But fortunately, you have the few, like Red Tornado, who's a robot, who doesn't really sleep or dream, so him and a number of other robots are able to stop planes from crashing and keep a number of people safe, while also you have others like Zatanna, who barely dodged being put to sleep, like we saw at the Hall of Justice, who's still awake trying to help everyone else. But as it stands for Insomnia, we find that he has to go back to the nightmares, because without the Nightmare Stone, he can't stay in the real world for too long. So as he returns to the nightmares, he gives the order for his creatures to kill any and everyone who is still awake. While in the meantime, back over with Deadman, he's come up with an idea after seeing what was in Insomnia's mind, so he made his way to the cemetery with samples of the Lazarus resin that Batman had kept, and he used them to bring back someone from the Golden Age, who Deadman knows will have more answers to this Nightmare Stone mystery, and that someone is none other than Wesley Dodds, the Sandman, and former member of the Justice Society of America, who also recognizes right away that this isn't Batman that he's dealing with. Which for Deadman, this of course catches him off guard, because he's like, how does the Sandman even know Batman? And to save time, the Sandman just breaks it down in the most simplest way possible. And he tells Deadman, well, you know, you got the time travel and the multiverses thing, but the more important questions are, why was he resurrected? And who is this Insomnia guy that the Sandman heard Deadman talking about? So Deadman tells Sandman what he knows about Insomnia, as well as him being after the Nightmare Stone, and he asks Sandman if he has any idea why Insomnia is after it. And Sandman tells him he remembers the Nightmare Stone. That case was a bad one that haunted him, because this case involved a cult who claimed that they worship the god of nightmares. And at first, they were like most cults, about sex and money, but then it took a nasty turn. Because this group of guys who were mainly just bored rich people who felt like they were owed something greater stumbled onto the instructions of how to bring about the Nightmare Stone, which required a number of living sacrifices. So of course at the time, this is where Sandman jumped in, using his gas gun to put these guys to sleep and save this man that they were about to sacrifice. But as the Sandman untied this guy from the table, soon after he would find out that the man who they were about to sacrifice, he was in on it too. And at this point, just caught off guard, Sandman watches this guy put a knife through his chest while the other cult members drink what's supposed to be some kind of death potion, which for the others, the Sandman had already switched out their death potion with his own concoction of sleepy time. And when this happened, the one sacrifice was only enough to make the Nightmare Stone appear for a brief moment before it could fully manifest into something real. And though the Sandman only saw it for a few seconds, he lets Deadman know that he could feel the immense power from it before it disappeared. And after asking Dr. Fate and other members of the Justice Society, all of them told Sandman that they had never encountered anything like it, or even heard of it. But later when Dr. Fate would tell him about an item that would bridge the dream and waking world, Sandman knew that this was something that was too dangerous to fall into the wrong hands. To where from here, Deadman just figures that he's gotta just keep it moving, and perhaps put Sandman back before he turns into some kind of zombie. But Sandman lets him know that that case haunted him, so wherever Deadman goes, he's coming along with. But then suddenly, an alert comes through to the Batmobile from Red Tornado calling for any heroes who are still awake to make their way to Terrific Tech, cause they need all the help they can get. So Deadman and Sandman prepare to make their way down there, but as they do, Deadman asks Sandman about those cult members, the ones who were given the sleeping potion, to see if any of them may still be alive, which for Sandman, he says that there's no way. These guys would be long gone by now. But for us, we come to find out that the son of the guy who stabbed himself, he's still alive. And in his dreams, he's very much a king, living it up in his own little freaky dream kingdom, where he's a little bit younger with much better hair. But while he's here, he's approached by Insomnia, who once again is just looking under every rock to see if he can hunt down the Nightmare Stone. But this guy just ends up being a dead end, who for a moment tries to snap on Insomnia by telling him not only could he not find it either, but he also goes on about how his father's association with that cult ruined his life, and how he had to build up everything he has by himself. So Insomnia just tells him, yeah, I'm sure that $20 million trust fund had nothing to do with it. And he tells this guy that his father only wanted the stone to increase his wealth, and if he wants more money like his father, open wide. As Insomnia opens this dude's mouth and shoves a bag of money down his throat, which now has me thinking that Insomnia might not be a bad option for a Mortal Kombat 1 cameo, cause this finisher with the walk away would be pretty nice to see on a current gen console, or PC, wherever you play. And next, we head over to Terrific Tech, with Deadman and Sandman answering to Red Tornado's call for help. And the funny thing is, when they get here, Red Tornado is first surprised to see Batman awake, only to soon after be disappointed that it's not actually Batman. But after getting through this, Red Tornado goes on to tell Deadman and Sandman about how even though it's only been a few hours, the whole world has been thrown into chaos. And he goes on to fill them in on how the robots have stepped up and helped as many people as they can, with many people just falling asleep in very compromising situations. And going forward, Red Tornado shows them that Mr. Terrific has also gone under too. And in his case, with Mr. Terrific being one of the smartest men in the world, that in itself makes so much room for his nightmares to be even crazier. And now with Deadman thinking about the global scale of which this phenomenon has reached, for a moment he's just like, man, I can't do this, because he's never been one to single-handedly save the world. And then suddenly he's hit with a sharp pain that just takes him to the ground, which initially Sandman asked if this is Batman trying to take control of his body back. But Deadman tells him no, it's Insomnia. Because when Deadman tried to go into Insomnia's body, this left Deadman with a connection to where he could see Insomnia's nightmares, which once again take him back to Arkham Tower, where this time around Insomnia is referred to as Mr. Lucas by one of the doctors at Arkham, and we're told how his air quotes condition is very similar to that of John D. But this gets interrupted when a news broadcast comes on talking about the Justice League, who were all formally pronounced as dead, only for the heroes to then come back to life, and this caused Insomnia, aka Mr. Lucas, to lose it, with him saying, why do they get to come back from the dead and not us? What makes them so special? And at this time, Insomnia went on to say that he will not rest until the whole world sees the Justice League for what they are. They are, and then bam, he's hit by one of the orderlies who stick him with a syringe, and shortly after, arrangements are made to get him back on the sleeping aids. And with seeing this now, Deadman has a lot more information to go off of after making multiple trips into the mind of Insomnia. But now, with them seeing Insomnia kept asleep like there was something they didn't want him to say, now it raises the question why? What is it that Insomnia knows? But Deadman isn't able to stay long before Insomnia pushes him out again. And with returning to Batman's body, Deadman's able to tell Sandman that he saw a part of Insomnia's past where he felt what Insomnia felt, which was frustrated. But as it stands, Insomnia is still trapped in the nightmare realm, and he's not having much of any luck finding the Nightmare Stone. And with Sandman being the great detective that he is, he tells Deadman, if he's connected with Insomnia and he can tell where he is it possible that Insomnia can do the same? And it's right there where the lights just go out and Insomnia's sleepless nights show up, tearing the head off a Red Tornado without warning, while also letting the Sandman know a little bit more about how dangerous Insomnia's forces can be outside in the real world. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/Dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.